Hello and welcome to Graceful Profiles. I'm your host, Alicia Figueras-Lambert. I am super excited to bring to you Graceful Profiles. I thought about doing this because I work with a bunch of seniors on a daily basis, and I have been just blown away of the stories that they've shared with me, their journey. What better place than to share your journey on Graceful Profiles. And today's guest is a very sweet and dear person to my heart. Her name is Geraldine Fowler McKee.
Mm.
Geraldine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Always nice to see you, Geraldine.
My
So talk to
pleasure.
me. How are you feeling today?
I feel wonderful. I'm blessed that I can see you. I can talk to you. I'm in a warm place. I'm not outside. I have a nice place to live, and I don't have anything wrong with me. I'm healthy.
You are, and you look awesome. You
Thank
are 103 years young. Am I
you.
right?
Right. May 23rd, 1921.
Tell me about your journey. You have done so much in your life. Share a little of what you can remember.
Well, I was, let's see, I've been a manager for New York City Housing. I've been a manager and overseeing of some of the largest buildings in Chicago. I have a lot of friends that are very fond of me, and I'm very lucky that I don't have any problems health wise. And I'm very proud, very happy that you are calling me. What else could I
Oh,
say?
that's so sweet, Geraldine.
You know,
How?
just about everything. You ask me questions if you want to. It's fine. I don't have anything to hide.
Well, everyone wants to know what's your secret. You walk, you get up, you're healthy, you're 103. What's your secret?
My secret really maybe is because my mother was 104 when she died.
Wow.
My mother and my aunt raised me. My mother divorced my father when I was about 6 years old. So, two women with good taste raised me. My aunt was very social. She played the piano very well. We had a black, uh, beautiful piano in the living room. And
Uh-huh.
anybody that came got a treat when my aunt played the piano. And since I was their only little doll, I danced for them.
Mm. What kind of social life did you have, Geraldine?
I've had a very good social life. I belong to a club of women, were I would say prominent black women right here in the in New York. Some of the nicest, very nice. Um, we have a club that we go to different cities and raise money and donate it to that city.
Nice.
Not to the city, but to the worthy, whoever needs it. And we
That's
do
nice.
research on it. Somebody in my club researches who might be a leading student or whatever. And that's our excuse to drink on Friday night.
Where did you go on Friday nights?
We had club meeting once a month, and we met at each other's houses. We didn't go late at night. We probably went around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And those of us who were single were welcome, but our husbands are already welcome too. Our husbands didn't have to pay for anything, so they got a free ride, and that's how we got them there because otherwise they would have had an excuse not to come.
You were part of the Cotton Club era, right?
I was
Talk to me about that.
okay. My cotton club, I remember very well because we were not allowed to go to the cotton club. It was for white people.
Really?
But I did live in the same neighborhood as Winnie Johnson, who was one of the chorus girls.
Mm.
And there were two sisters. the Brown sisters. They were twins, and they were very popular. They were on little commercials with Fats Waller, and they were seen all over. And they were the most prominent at the time. And they were they were in the chorus at the Cotton Club. As I said, we were not allowed to go on a Cotton Club.
Where could
I
you go?
was I was not me, but I mean anybody that was not, you know, a Caucasian. And it was a very popular place, but it also, you didn't miss anything because a lot of people that went there came from downtown, and sometimes their background was questionable because it was gangsters and just
Wow.
anybody that felt like spending a lot of money. So we didn't care whether we could go or not.
So where could you go? Where could you go?
We could go to the Mimo Club, which was a club that Bill Robinson bought. And
Mm-hmm.
I started out to be a private club because my mother was one of the people that was invited to the opening. And everybody showed up. It was 131st Street and 7th Avenue
In New York City.
in New York City. And it was an invitation only. And my mother dressed in formal clothes, and I have pictures of that. And then it became a popular. And as soon as I got older, I could go, but we couldn't drink anything. I could go in it, but they had a little tiny dance floor like a boxer's stage, and
Mm-hmm.
they had music, but not any big bands or anything like that for music. It was an open house to anybody who behaved themselves, and it was popular among certain people. So that was one of the places that I went to mostly. And my hangout, when I had company from out of town, my mother had some very nice friends, and two boys that were the first two boys to go to be admitted to Harvard were among the friends that I made through my mother. And
Uh-huh.
they were the first two blacks to go to Harvard University. So that
Wow.
shows you that I was very fortunate that my mother was so well liked, and that she had a collection of people that are pioneers in certain things. One man was Jay Clifford, who was like Mr. Caputi, who is very famous for being artistic, and he was a very well known man who was really from Washington, and he was on the dock when you were going to be admitted. Like, what do you call them now? Guards. Say it was one of the guards. He was
Mm-hmm.
one that was black, a black man, a man of color. And he had a lovely apartment on 114th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue. And it was large, and his entrance was decorated like a garden. So when you came in, the entrance was about 10 feet long to the living room.
Mm-hmm.
When you walked in, it was like walking through a garden. It wasn't flowery. It was flowery, but it wasn't flowers. It was decorated like a garden. And
Uh-huh.
he was a very famous man. He was originally from Washington, and he was well liked and had a lot of parties. I mean, he was for a long time he was single. Finally, he did marry somebody else, but he was the host for the host of the hosts. And
Mm.
I was fortunate enough that my mother was in that same group, you know. And he had a very large kitchen with a large bar. So even though you had a pretty living room, everybody hung out in the kitchen. And
Geraldine,
uh-huh.
aside from the Cotton Club, did you experience personally any discrimination?
No, I was never. I never. we didn't bother to look for gold. Why would we bother? We had our own group. We had our own club. We had
Mm.
our own places to go. The on the corner of 138th Street and 7th Avenue was the Red Rooster, that became the mainstay for any Joe Louis or anybody that was popular. It was a popular club on the corner in the basement. And originally, that building had been built for the Madam Walker daughter.
Mm.
Madam Walker had this apartment built for her daughter and her new husband, who turned out to be Dr. Wiley Wilson, who, when the wife died, he married one of my mother's friends.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time there, and it was not any more than sitting around waiting for my mother to take me home. You
Well,
know,
tell her about when you got fired from the telephone company.
well,
Oh,
I got a job at the. I went to
Uncle
one
Uncle
day on
Fred.
187th Street. I went in and I put a application in, and I got hired. But when I went to the first day, I had a friend of mine, just a friend, who was had hours that he could pick me up, and it was a new job. So he had a car, and he picked me up one day. And when he picked me up, the next day I got fired because he was brown skinned, and the woman who was watching me was the supervisor for the telephone company, and she was prejudiced, and so I got fired the next day.
oh my goodness.
So that bothered me a little, but I've been lucky enough, not I think I'm lucky because I'm friendly, I'm easy to get along with. I do have certain skills. I know how to work a switchboard. They got
Mm-hmm.
me involved with the stock market, and I finally ended up being private assistant to stock market for Harris Upham, which was a large brokerage on Park Avenue. Had nothing to do with my color. It had something to do with the fact that I had experience and I had a very nice boss.
Very nice. Geraldine, every time I see you, you will always put together so well. Your
Hmm.
clothes match, you look so nice. Have you always been that way? And I know back in the day, especially on 125th Street, folks dressed to the nines.
Well, that was a habit. Before that, years ago, the gentlemen that walked along Seventh Avenue, particularly on Easter Sunday, they wore tails and tuxedos.
Wow.
That was the way people dressed. I remember the Depression. I remember when the men who who had lost their jobs were selling apples on Seventh Avenue for a nickel, and things got
Wow.
better as the Depression. I
Right.
had whatever experiences I've had. They've always been on Seventh Avenue. I lived in 409 Edgecombe, and that was probably what a lot of people think was fantastic because I lived on the 13th floor of 409 Edgecombe. 409 Edgecombe was the principal building, a tall building, and the first in Washington Heights still let black people in. And
Wow.
after that, after I was in there, then I guess maybe another year or two, there was another street, another building on 160th Street called 555. And that's where Joe Louis and a lot of people lived there. So I've always been in a good place. My mother is popular and attractive and had attractive friends. And my mother originally was from Pittsburgh, so a lot of her friends are from my godmother, and other people were from Pittsburgh. They were nice people. I was raised well. I was raised with manners. My
Yes.
mother was very strict. She was not that friendly. I mean, she wasn't that loving, but she had a sister, Aunt Ann, who spoiled me and made chocolate cakes at night. Like Cat last night, Sandy made me a chocolate cake.
Aw.
And
You too are very attractive. You know, your granddaughter sent me a picture of you.
oh,
And I'm saying, oh my gosh, looks like a movie star. Back in
oh,
the day, what a beautiful picture of you.
thank you.
I'm just so admired by you.
I think maybe my friendliness is my winner. I'm not pretty. I'm just really an ordinary woman
No, you
with
don't say that.
a lot of experience and a lot of good times and a lot of bad times. I'm just the average woman. I'm happy to talk to you though.
I am too. Geraldine, what about, talk to me about where you live. You've been there for a number of years.
I came to New York when I was 8 years old. My mother brought me from Chicago. And I remember very well, my memory is very good because I had a buggy in the dining room in Chicago and it was filled with dolls. And I could only take one doll, but I left all my dolls in the buggy in Chicago. And I could skate in the backyard there with my skates because they had a nice backyard. When we came to New York, we moved into 381 Edgecombe, and that's where Duke Ellington's sister lived because Duke Ellington was always on the road. And so I knew his son Mercer very well at the time because Mercer was about 2 years older than I was, but he lived in the same building. Eventually, we moved to 409 Edgecombe, apartment 13A, which was a kind of a funny thing because I became popular with some young men that I met socially. And I thought I was being popular, but they got a chance to ride the elevator. So if I had 4 or 5 fellows coming at the right time, they came in a group from Brooklyn probably, and they were just trying to get on the elevator because I was the only building with an elevator.
And
So
where you live now?
I can't take credit for it.
Here, Grandma.
Huh?
How long have you lived in this apartment?
I've lived in this apartment 65
Yeah.
years.
Holy
It's,
camole.
I would love it to have an elevator. Uh, I'm hesitating about the statement I'm making because I'm afraid of being held up in an elevator. And you
Oh,
hear about that, and so I walk up 3 flights of stairs. And it's funny because people say, she's just that age and she's walking up the stairs. Yeah, I'm walking up the stairs, walking down the stairs, and it's good for your legs, but you do a little panting when you get up here. My friends are all welcome to come and see me if they want to see me. I have 1 or 2 people that don't want to come up this far, but I love them dearly and we talk on the phone. I'm very, very lucky. I don't have any health problems.
you're blessed.
I have to wear eyeglasses, but I've worn glasses since I was about 13 years old. And I don't have heart trouble, blood trouble, nothing. I like to
Geraldine,
dance, I like to walk, I like people, and people
mhm.
keep me young.
You never wanted to remarry?
No.
Why?
I had one marriage that I had after my second would have been my second marriage, and
Hmm.
he was a bartender in a very popular bar in Harlem, and he couldn't do enough for me. He bought me a beautiful diamond ring, and he showed me off, and we got married. He started drinking, he started beating me, and I had to leave.
Oh, I'm so sorry to
And
hear that.
that's enough. That's all I've done. I have been a single woman since. I'm perfectly happy being single. I don't have to tell you or ask anybody where I can go or where I don't have to depend on anybody. I have a job of my own.
I
I
hear you.
I got a job through a brokerage, and I ended up going into not a brokerage, but to a temp office, And I got a very nice job at 245 Park Avenue for Harris Upham, which is a brokerage stock market. So was there for a very long time until my boss died suddenly. And so I've had some nice jobs.
Very nice. What kind of what kind of advice can you give seniors that are like 65 years old, gracefully aging?
I don't think that you should ever be by yourself. First of all, most seniors, like myself, had a better, safer world to live in.
Mm-hmm.
We had ladies' teas and ladies' things happen maybe once a night or once a night, not once a night, you know what I mean. So we had a nice social life, and you have to stay active. You just can't. You cannot sit and look out the window. You have to. In my case, I have to have someone to talk to. I'm definitely not a loner.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to come to my house every morning for coffee. I'm not that friendly, but I am friendly enough in the afternoon. And I don't have many. I have some nice neighbors. You know, I have a lady that lives across the hall from me, and she's very kind. Every once
Mm-hmm.
in a while, she'll come to ring my bell, which she did today, and she'll bring me a breakfast or something. That's as far as I want to go. Mm.
What about your children and your grandchildren? You have a message that you want to share with them?
Well, I had two. I had two. I had two daughters, and Leslie became very sick in
27.
20,
2020.
2017. She was my heart, and she was the older of the two girls. She died of really like leukemia, I think. And she's the one that started selling. She was married to a lawyer, and they broke up. And in her ingenuity, she started selling choir robes to people on 125th Street, to the churches. And finally, she got an idea, why not have the church's choir compete? And it ended up being the McDonald's Gospel Fest.
That's awesome.
She's
That is awesome.
She did it all by herself. She went from one church to the other and talked them into, and they were pleasant because they got, they made them stars, and
Mm-hmm.
little tiny churches. They had maybe 12 people in a choir or 8 people, and they had this competition. And she went to everybody. She has all the mating. I can't think of them now. If you named them, I'm kind of blanking out. But the most important people that sang in gospel were introduced to the gospel fest with Leslie, my daughter.
That
I'm
is so beautiful.
so I'm very proud of her because in a woman's world, you have to find something that you can fit yourself into and
Mm-hmm.
make it a success. I didn't have to help her. I went a couple of times to the churches just to introduce ourselves. But she became very famous, and unfortunately, I lost her to leukemia. But I have Kathy, who I'm more than proud of. She was a beautiful little girl. She was brown skinned, and I'm light. I'm a little lighter. But her hair grew down her back, and when we walk on the street, people would turn around and look at her. She looked like a little Hawaiian, and, and she was very cute and very pretty. And so, other than the fact that she had asthma so bad and she was sick, and that worried me. I thought I was going to. People wrote to the Pope for Kathy because she was so pretty and so sick. I couldn't take her to the park. She would get deathly ill. She couldn't do anything. And fortunately, God has been good. She's completely cured. And she's now a successful businesswoman. And she has her own business. And we're all happy for each other.
Very nice. What kind of message would you like to share with your daughter and your grandchildren and your great grandchild?
Well, I think that we have had a conservative way of living. We don't go into debt. We don't buy things we can't afford. And I belong to St. Philip's Church for all my life, and I Kathy. Now I go to the church on the on the intercession on 155th, and my children have been christened there and confirmed, so that they have a good background. They have nice friends.
What advice would you give us, though?
And the advice, I think, follow my leader. I don't get in any trouble. I'm not a gossip. I don't try to get in your business, and I don't have anything for you to get into my business with. I live a clean life, and what can I do? I work. I'm a working woman, and I have a nice job. I can't do any more.
You don't have a job anymore.
Hmm?
You don't have a job
She
anymore.
she said she had.
I'm retired from the Harris because I retired from my job.
You tickle me.
I have a little pension, not much, but I have Social Security, and I have a 5 room apartment that Sandy, my granddaughter, works or lives with me and keeps my company and takes care of me,
Hmm.
fixes my breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
What a blessing. What a blessing to have a granddaughter to live
Um,
with you.
yes, right. I'm blessed. I'm blessed,
Yes.
but I'm more blessed than she knows that I think I am blessed, because I'm very lucky. Some children don't even come to visit their mothers.
Yep, you got that right.
So that I don't see Kathy as much as I would like to, because she is not living close enough.
Right.
But we talk on the phone, and I don't have to tell you any more than that.
Geraldine, I know so many seniors that live alone and either don't have children or their children don't communicate with them or there's riff in the family and it's just a depressing thing. And so I celebrate the fact that you have support, a great support system
I do
with
have a
your
great support. Listen, and I tell anybody, don't sit in the house by yourself and look out the window.
mm,
Talk to the lady next door. If she doesn't want to talk to you, there's another person down the hall that'll talk. And there's probably another woman wishes you would speak to her. You don't have to go out of your way to make friends. You will. Talk to
yeah.
her in the supermarket. Do your own shopping. And stay busy. You know, I can't. I can't go to the Savoy and dance anymore because the Savoy is closed.
Uh, Geraldine, I always enjoy speaking with you.
Thank you.
Always. I can't wait to see your face in person again. Is
Oh,
there anything else that you'd like to share before we say goodbye?
I think you should try to be as happy as possible. Be as content and thankful. Believe in God. Take care of yourself. Don't get in any trouble. Don't gossip. Don't do anything you're not able to do. That's all. What else? It's a simple life. Just be yourself and have a couple of friends.
Good wisdom. I love it.
Yeah.
Geraldine, thank you so much for being my first guest on Graceful Profiles. You are definitely a profile that has a lot to share. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
If you'd like to be a guest on Graceful Profiles, check us out at gracefulprofiles.com or give me a call at 631-741-5616. I've been your host, Alicia Figueras-Lambert. In the meantime, be true to yourself no matter how many years have passed. God bless you.
Thank you. Good luck.